Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling one of the biggest, most enduring mysteries of the 20th century.
The assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas.
Exactly. JFK. Such a magnetic leader, incredibly popular, and then just shot down in broad daylight.
It's an event that really grabs you, doesn't it? So public, so shocking.
Absolutely. And right at the heart of it, there's this fundamental question that people have been debating for decades.
Was it a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald? Or was there, something more complex going on? A conspiracy, a complot, as some sources put it.
A secret plan, right? And, for years, there was all this anticipation about classified files being released.
Everyone hoping for that smoking gun, that one piece of paper that would just settle it all.
Yeah, but when they finally started releasing them, wow, the sheer volume, something like, 80,000 pages?
And that's just figuring out where to even start looking felt like a massive job.
And that's where we come in with this deep dive. We know you want to cut through the noise, get the key info.
Understand the core of it. There are really compelling parts of this huge story without getting lost in every single document.
So, our goal today is to pull out those crucial pieces, try and make sense of this puzzle that just won't quit.
Let's do it. Where should we start?
Okay, let's begin with the initial official story. Almost right away, the name Lee Harvey Oswald came up.
And the official conclusion was pretty swift. He acted alone.
It's interesting looking back at how people reacted then.
Yeah, there's a difference, isn't there? Our sources suggest that in the U.S., most people initially bought the lone gunman idea.
Really? Until when?
It seems like that held for quite a while, actually, until Oliver Stone's movie JFK came out. But apparently in Europe, there was a lot more skepticism right from the beginning. People just weren't buying the lone gunman thing.
That is a fascinating contrast. And then, years later, you had the House Select Committee on Assassinations.
Right, and they actually suggested a conspiracy was likely.
But even that wasn't the main thing that shifted public opinion, according to our source.
No, it seems the real game changer, the big shift, was Oliver Stone's film, JFK.
Suddenly, loads more people started thinking, hang on, maybe there was a conspiracy.
It even affected people who later investigated it themselves. They might have started out dismissing the theories.
Thinking it was all just, wild speculation.
Exactly. But then, digging deeper, maybe looking into work like that Dutch journalist Willem Oldmans who suspected the CIA perspectives, really started to change.
It just shows the power of a narrative, doesn't it? How a film can make people question the official story.
Absolutely. Especially when the official account feels incomplete or just doesn't quite add up for some people.
Okay, so with that shift in mind, let's get into the actual conspiracy theories. What are the main ones people talk about?
Well, probably the biggest one, the one our source flags as really significant, involves the CIA working with organized crime, the mafia.
Okay, that's a heavy one. What else?
Then you've got theories about Cuban exiles, people who obviously hated Castro and maybe blamed Kennedy for not supporting them enough, perhaps with some American interests mixed in.
Right, the Bay of Pigs fallout and all that.
Yeah.
Makes sense they'd be a focus. Any others?
Oh, yeah, it's a wide net. Some theories point fingers at foreign powers, the Russians, even the French or Israelis get mentioned.
Yeah.
Others suggest the FBI might have been involved somehow. And then you get into the really out there ideas.
Like what?
Like someone inside the presidential limo being involved.
Yeah.
Which seems highly improbable. There was even, as the source puts it, a crazy thought about Jackie Kennedy.
Goodness. Okay, that really covers the spectrum. But let's circle back to the doubts about the official lone gunman story. What makes people question Oswald acting alone? Our source calls this whole thing an outside category for conspiracies, but why?
Well, usually the argument against big government plots is how could so many people keep quiet for so long?
Right, secrecy problem.
But here, even people who don't normally lean towards conspiracy theories have raised serious questions about Oswald pulling it off by himself.
It's just, there are nagging inconsistencies, aren't there?
Definitely. Like the shell casings. Only 3 found.
But witnesses.
Many, many witnesses reported hearing more shots than 3. That's hard to just dismiss.
And then there's the visual evidence. The Zapruder film.
Ah, yes. Crucial piece, it seems, visually at least, to show Kennedy being hit from the front.
While Oswald was famously positioned in the book depository, behind the motorcade.
Exactly. So if that visual is accurate, it completely throws the official scenario out of whack, doesn't it? It's powerful stuff for anyone questioning the lone shooter idea.
And it wasn't just the film, right? There were eyewitnesses, and wasn't there some photo that supposedly shows another gun? though I know that's debated.
Correct. Eyewitness accounts and that debated photo add to the cloud of doubt.
What about the medical evidence?
That's another contentious area. The pathologist's initial findings reportedly mentioned an exit wound at the back of Kennedy's head.
Okay, so if Oswald shot from behind, the bullet enters the back and exits the front. So a rear exit wound is weird?
Well, it complicates things. If the shot came from behind, you'd expect the main exit to be towards the front. If there's also significant damage suggesting an exit at the back, and other evidence like the Zapruder film suggesting a hit from the front, it creates a real puzzle about bullet trajectories. It doesn't neatly fit the simple shot from behind narrative for everyone.
And the timing. The sheer speed required.
Yes. The Zapruder film shows how incredibly fast it all happened.
For Oswald, with that specific bolt-action rifle, to fire 3 accurate shots in, what, 6 seconds or so?
And inflict all those wounds on both Kennedy and Governor Connally. It just seems almost physically impossible to many ballistics experts, the accuracy needed at that speed.
It's train's credulity.
Yeah.
And then there's the bullet itself.
Ah, the pristine bullet. Commission Exhibit 399.
Found on Governor Connally's stretcher.
Yes, and it was in remarkably good condition, almost undamaged.
Despite supposedly passing through Kennedy's neck, then hitting Connally, breaking a rib, injuring his wrist.
Exactly. How could one bullet do all that damage and come out looking almost perfect? It raises huge questions.
Another red flag for many. And the limo.
The fact the presidential limousine was cleaned out so quickly, just hours later, that definitely fueled suspicion.
Like potential evidence was being removed.
That was the concern, yes. Whether intentional or not, it looked bad.
Okay, so a lot of reasons to doubt the simple story, which leads us to what our source calls the most sustainable conspiracy theory. Which one seems to have the most, well, legs?
The one that seems to have the most plausible elements, according to this analysis, points towards a small, clandestine group within the CIA.
Not the whole agency, but a faction.
Precisely. The idea is this group wanted Kennedy gone. Why? Major disagreements.
About what?
About the CIA's size, its power, its operations, especially Vietnam, which was ramping up, and Kennedy was apparently looking to rein them in.
That sets up a classic power struggle, doesn't it? President versus an agency wanting autonomy.
It does. And the source mentions a former CIA head of European operations who apparently also believed this was a possibility.
So it's not just coming from outside observers.
Right. And what gives these kinds of theories more weight over time is the stuff that has come out in declassified files.
Like what?
Like the confirmed collaborations between the CIA and the Mafia and also Cuban exiles to carry out illegal plots against Fidel Castro. Things the government denied for years.
So if they were doing that in secret and lying about it?
It makes it seem more plausible to some that they could have been involved in other secret illegal operations, maybe even the assassination, and covered that up too.
And it provides that motive we talked about why a rogue CIA element might have seen Kennedy as an obstacle.
Exactly. And you have to remember Kennedy's own history with the CIA wasn't great after the Bay of Pigs fiasco.
He was furious, right? Blamed them.
Deeply. Felt they misled him. There's that famous quote attributed to him about wanting to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. That shows real animosity.
Definitely establishes a conflict. And this CIA angle, that connects to Jim Garrison's investigation back in the 60s.
Yes. Garrison's investigation, which Oliver Stone's film was largely based on, focused heavily on a potential CIA link in New Orleans.
So it sounds like, given all these threads pointing towards inconsistencies and even potential CIA motives in some documents, finding someone in the source material strongly defending only the lone gunman theory was tough.
That seems to be the case. There were just so many loose ends, so many questions raised by the evidence that contradict the simple version presented by the Warren Commission.
The official investigation, they put out that huge report trying to explain it all.
Very comprehensive, yes. And they came up with this complex explanation for how the 3 bullets caused all the wounds.
The single bullet theory or magic bullet theory?
That's the one. And our source really highlights how incredibly improbable that bullet's path would have had to be.
To go through Kennedy's neck, then turn, hit Connally in the back, exit his chest, hit his wrist, end up in his thigh.
It requires some serious contortions. The source uses that phrase, even a blind horse finds that strain, referring to the pristine bullet doing all that. It captures the skepticism.
It really does. And the source mentions someone, Martin Van Rossum, who used to accept the Warren report.
Yes, apparently he did. But the suggestion is, with all the documents released since then that challenge the commission's findings, he'd probably be much more hesitant to stand by that conclusion today.
Which makes sense. And this whole affair, the assassination, the confusing investigation, it had a bigger impact, didn't it, on trust?
A huge impact. Globally. First, the shock and grief, losing this charismatic leader. Then, the official investigation leaves so many people unconvinced.
It becomes a breeding ground for distrust in government and authorities.
Absolutely. You can draw a line from Dealey Plaza through the perceived cover-ups, or at least obfuscation, to a broader erosion of public faith in institutions. It was a turning point in that relationship for many.
So for you listening, hoping we'd pull a rabbit out of the hat with a final answer, it seems we're still looking at a giant jigsaw puzzle.
That's a good way to put it. Pieces keep getting added, information keeps trickling out, but the full picture, whether we'll ever truly know what happened and who is ultimately behind it,
It might just remain elusive.
sadly, that seems very possible.
Well, thank you for taking this deep dive with us into what is still, after all these years, an incredibly complex and, frankly, unsettling mystery.
And even without definitive answers, digging into the information, weighing the different theories like we've tried to do today, it gives valuable insights, doesn't it, into a really pivotal moment.
It certainly does. And maybe we can leave you with this thought. Given all the lingering questions, the documents still being processed, what does this enduring uncertainty around the JFK assassination tell us about that fundamental relationship between governments and the people they serve? About trust.
It's definitely something to ponder, maybe even something that prompts you to look into some of those declassified files yourself. There's still so much to explore.